Good morning or good evening, chat. Chat, isn't it a great time to be alive? To watch some ADV. Let's put this in a few chats. Bang. I'd actually use my stream server for once and actually ping. Okay. I think we're good, right? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Get it pinged a little bit, get us going. I feel like I'm on time for like the first time in a while. I usually end up starting these like 5 minutes late, just as like that's how it happens. Yeah, what's up, Cinerath? Let me know how the audio is as well with the music. I think it's fine, but obviously I haven't streamed in a while, so the audio might be incorrect, but we can correct that as we go along. That's why we start early. Yeah, we're gonna watch this one. I'm gonna watch the two games that I already know the results of first, just to get those out of the way. Not that I can't provide any commentary on them, but it's a little less fun if you know the result going in, right? And I did help Kaz mock for week number 1. I might help him mock for week number 2 as well, but I will be at least for the ADV weeks. Certainly, I've also had like an infinite amount of time, the last little bit, because we've only this week has only been drafting for Draft League, and it'll continue to be such for like the next little bit. All right, I think I have everything I need to get set up. Yeah, let's get going here. All right, so we have the Hoenn Khlazic. So this is, I think I streamed like almost all of this league last year. This is the same concept of the league where it's ADV, Oras, and Usum on rotating weeks. I will probably stream the Usum games. I didn't do it last time. We'll see. I don't know. It's kind of funny because like by the time that comes out, I might do one last ride watch along stuff. So I might have an excuse to get out of not do Usum again. But I at least want to watch the ADV and Oras games because those are the games I find entertaining, and I want there to be more. I want people to experience these draft league games as much as possible because YouTube, kind of the goal of doing this is YouTube is all about Scarlet and Violet draft league all the time. So let's expose the fans and the culture to a little bit of what's it called, ADV and Oras draft league, and then some Usum as well because Usum, well, it might not be my personal favorite. I think people do particularly enjoy it, so worth covering at least. All right, let's get going here. So we're going to start with the Kaz OGL binding game. So all the teams will be on screen. Of course, I have it. My OBS always opens the other monitor. Left hand, it'll be left to right as well. So Owen's team getting into this matchup. Having mocked and prepped on Owen's side of the matchup, I thought his matchup was unbelievably difficult here in that it was... Blissey is really strong into his team generally, in that it kind of does hold back Mens, and not Kangaskhan, not really, but it does hold back Mens enough with Blissey at high HP, and Blissey has a lot of opportunity to get HP back against Melodic, Arcanine, Haunter, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunities for Blissey to get back to full, and Salamence can't really attack through the Blissey unless he's got like multiple DDs up. And generally, like, Kaz's defensive structure is really strong here. One of the things that I noticed with Owen's team, or I helped him with drafting, so I kind of have like a lot of perspective on either side of this, is his team was a little Zapdos weak, which I think obviously Zapdos is strong here. But I think the main problem here is that this team, Blissey does a good job of holding back a lot of this offense. And our Maldo is actually a pretty decent spinner in this matchup. All things considered, it forces Milo in a lot, which creates a lot of free predictable doubles for Zapdos. So I think this is a pretty tough matchup for Owen. Let's get right into it. Early Toxic by Owen. This is kind of I think one of the big passes that you need to win is you really need to lower the HP of their Sarmaldo down early. It's the piece that comes in the most often and is the most annoying because you need spikes from Quillfish to actually break the Blissey down long term. So getting that Toxic off on Armaldo early is really, really nice. It makes it really hard for that Pokemon to come in and get Rapid Spins off later. In comes Quillfish. I was going to make a move here into a Melodic. I don't know if he was covering. He definitely wasn't covering the Armaldo, I don't think, there. I think it's just a good switch into Lunatone. And it works out well for him because he's able to get... oh, we're getting really fast here. I don't know why Shodan decided to go super fast there. We get a few doubles, but now we finally start to get our spikes up. And Kaz makes a... I wouldn't... makes the play to Earthquake there, which I think makes sense. Donphan is the most obvious thing to come in. Well, you could go for the Rapid Spin. I think trying to take opportunities to get Quillfish when you can is very likely, especially where it's like pretty likely that what's it called? It's pretty likely that you have Surf on Quillfish. Surf from Quillfish actually can 2 KO a lot of the Armaldo sets, and especially when it's Toxic, that makes it a lot more effective. And I think a good reason for casting an Earthquake. A little unfortunate damage on the Lunatone there. This will come into play maybe a little bit later in the battle as Kaz goes for the Calm Mind. So Baton Pass set, obviously probably trying to get in the Zapdos here. Zapdos is the best recipient of this Calm Mind here. And when I was watching this battle live, this was like a big worry for me on Owen's side, right? Because you have to sack a lot of... I know the Pokemon Capital thing is kind of a meme within the group, but like you have to sack a lot of Pokemon here, and this is a big Toxic, right? Like if you don't get that Toxic hit there, then you are in massive trouble against this Pokemon. So getting a +1/+1 into Zapdos here is just super problematic for Owen to deal with. And there's not really much you could do. He's going to lose his Kangaskhan here, and losing Kangaskhan kind of sucks. I mean, he doesn't have a great play, right? Luckily for him, Sceptile is going to be able to basically whittle down almost all of the HP from this Zapdos at this point. But I think, like, if I go back, I don't know if there's much necessarily to play around here. Going for the Toxic is important here because it's going to hit the Baton Passer, but now that Baton Passer basically can't BP effectively the rest of the game. Well, it can, but it's going to be very, very difficult. So we're going to have to sack Kangaskhan, and in comes Blissey here on the substitute. But yeah, like with the sub plus Leech Seed and stuff like that, like we're just going to be able to whittle down the Zapdos to the point where its HP is going to be so neutralized where it's not really going to be that effective. And now we see Aromatherapy come off here, which is kind of why Kaz would do that as well. That Pokemon still has a lot of life left, especially this Armaldo does too. Though this Armaldo is going to get 2 KO'd, not anymore, by the what's it called? But the not by the Sceptile anymore. Miss Rock Plus is also pretty bad here because now this thing is in range of Leaf Blade. And you do have to go back out into Blissey. So like in terms of like what goes well for Owen here, right? Because like the two big things to get through here are Breakdown Armaldo and Blissey. Mainly because you want to keep the entry hazards up against this team to make it easier to beat the Blissey. And with that thing being super low now, it's very difficult for it to come back in. So we reveal Ice Beam here. We're getting a little bit of chip, but chip on Blissey, I would say, doesn't matter in this battle almost at all for like the most part in the early goings. And we get a spike up here, and another spike as Kaz goes for the Calm Mind, looking to set up another kind of scenario where we look to get a Baton Pass off. This boom was pretty funny at the time, though. Given the situation how boom plays out, you boom, the turn ends, and you can just go Sceptile after. So I think a little bit unfortunate. I guess we'd have to see the calcs on Quillfish boom into Sceptile. My assumption is that boom into Leaf Blade kills, even at +1, because the turn ends, and you can't get the BP off or the heal. That's my intuition of the situation. But here, Owen goes Donphan, which is interesting. I don't know how I feel about Donphan necessarily. And that I don't know. I think it's only probably good into the Armaldo and the Hariyama, which I don't think you want to go Armaldo, given the fact that like Melodic could be there, and Hariyama seems okay as well, but I don't know how much you're really doing to that in that situation. But I think it's fine because like the only problem is if you go Zapdos, right? I guess if you're Zapdos, you just aggro Rock Slide and try to put HP pressure on that because you do still have. You might as well use your 60% HP for something. Nice Toxic here, I guess, to keep Blissey down, right? Like you want to get into a position where like you somehow force this Blissey out at like basically no HP. Especially with the 3 spikes up. Like it switched out at 57. Like it is going to be difficult now for that Pokemon to find the right opportunity. I like the Rock Slide here because you have to catch the Zapdos, right? Like one of the, like Hoenn does have Mence in the back, and Mence, like in theory, can win this game at this point. Like Blissey has been chipped now. Gyarados is still at full HP is the main concern here, deterring that win con. But like if you just catch the Zapdos there, like you're very, very far ahead. So I think that's a play worth making 100% to try to catch that. Because even if Hariyama comes in, you just Earthquake it after the fact and basically put it in range. And we just go for the Roar here. Smart Roar here just to prevent any like random setup opportunities. So it's kind of revealed at this point not to be. But like at that HP, the Hariyama doesn't matter to what Owen's playing for here. Now Armaldo comes in. This is huge. Because the Donphan, well, because Donphan dies, which means you can get your Mence in for free. And you can either go for the Dragon Dance or attack here. And this is good because it kind of puts Kaz in a weird spot. It's like, do you Rock Slide to get damage? Do you spin? Like, this is a very costly spin, right? Like, this spin costs a lot to get off. And now Owen's just going to go for another Dragon Dance. Very, very aggro. Yeah, but you dodged a Rock Blast, though. Hey, winners win. And this is really, really bad for Kaz now. He's going to have to, like, Intim Shuffle his Gyarados here. As you know, his opponent goes Hariyama, goes for the Rock Slide. I don't think it matters here to click HP Fly because he's just gonna sack this, right? Like he's obviously playing for the Gyarados double Intim Shuffle. And now we go back into Blissey. I guess that this is where this battle gets really tough now, in that it's really tough to see how you actually break through the Blissey. This Ice Beam does a lot, by the way. Blissey, like. Obviously, like a lot of hate gets put on Blissey for not being very good offensively, but it does have enough power behind it to kill Mence. But at this point, like I mean, you might just not. You probably just don't have the juice to kill Blissey from here, if it's only HP flying, right? So I mean, I think it makes sense for Owen to do that. Now, in theory, this game gets a little dicey here. Kaz goes for the Toxic here instead of trying to heal back up, which I guess is fine. Especially with Zapdos, it's so likely to just wins the game from here at a certain point. But this game just goes on forever. And like there are ways that Kaz can lose this end game at this point, but essentially the problem is Blissey is like kind of unmovable object at this point for the combination of Sceptile plus Melodic. So with the Toxic hit on the Sceptile, that basically finishes off that battle. So a pretty good game, honestly. I think Owen made a lot of like good plays to try to get himself. I think he did. I think with what was a tough matchup, gave himself the best chance to win. I wonder if we ever just attack the Blissey instead of DDing again. Because like, if it just kills us, we leave it at low HP. Then maybe we find a way to get through the Blissey. I don't know. I think it's so hard to deal with that anyway, to win that like sequence anyway, because like you have to. I mean, it should be in range of God, I can't speak. Range of Leaf Blade, but God, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Blissey to be able to live that. All right, next up here we got J Scurf versus Gold Mason. This is I haven't seen this one. I've seen the Jason one before. So I guess I lied in saying we're going to go all the ones that I've watched before. So sorry about that lying moment. I like J-Skir's team a lot. I think Raikou's kind of fallen out of favor here a little bit. Lax has kind of become the de facto #1 in terms of ADV. But Raikou is still pretty good. Though Raikou, this is a matchup where Raikou's going to struggle between the Lax and the Claydol. But we do have a pretty good Lax answer in Skarmory here. And this team is not entirely weak to spikes, but certain things will become difficult with spikes, especially where Heracross actually is really, really good offensively in this matchup, especially with the spike up. So let's see. Lead Arrow versus Vaporeon. Pretty good lead for Gold Mason to get that one right. And we get an early Toxic off on the Raikou. A huge turn there to basically mitigate a lot of the effectiveness of that Raikou. Basically, trading about 50-50% here, and we just go for... Oh, are we just sacking? Okay, so we sack Arrow here. Crit obviously does not matter. But Claydol's at super low HP now, which I think, like, sacking Arrow to basically put Claydol out of the possibility of being able to beat your Raikou is nice. Though with Raikou Toxic, I think that becomes really difficult to actually make it work. Especially with our team kind of relying on Skarmory to come in. Like, this Claydol's going to get back up to full HP pretty quickly, and it's just going to take this opportunity to rest. So we traded our Aerodactyl for basically nothing in this battle, which is a little bit unfortunate. But we're going to at least be able to get up all our spikes here, right? We're just going to spam a little bit of Drill Peck. But now the Aromatherapy revealed in the Vileplume is super important here, because all it allows Claydol to get right back to full HP. And now we've basically lost Claydol for almost nothing. And now her Regice was asleep, but it is Chesto Berry. So we know this is Resto Chesto now, which is good to know. Ice Beam comes out here. And, ooh, that's a big freeze in theory. Yeah, I mean, we can just go back into Lax here, right? Gligar comes in. Oh, Gligar catching the Lax during a double is good. The problem is, all right, so we are ST. So is this going to be able to break through the Claydol? Not with the Ice Beam, right? Yeah, like this is just going to do 63% die to Ice Beam. And then we're kind of in a similar spot that we've been in pretty consistently this battle. Vileplume's going to be able to come out here and chew this Brick Break up, though. And, like, Claydol just finds a way to come back in eventually at some point. This thing gets slapped. And now, I think I think at this point, J-Skirp is just running out of tools very quickly to actually win this battle. We are able to kill this with HP Ice, but, like, between the Leech Seed and the Toxic, we're taking so much damage here. And Lax just gets to come in for free. And I guess the Skarm can hold back the Lax for now. But there you go. Like, you set up another free double for the Claydol to get a rest off, or even just to get the spin off here, right? And now you basically kind of neutralize all of the impact of the hazards. So I think at this point, Snorlax should probably just win this battle. We do see Curse, so I assume we're going to see Roar from Skarmory here to send the Skarmory packing. A little bit of chip there, obviously. Doesn't matter too much. And then Scizor is going to be walled. I guess the one thing to note now is, like, if we look at Goldmason's team, his last is either Zam, Typhlosion, or Golem. I assume it's got to be Typhlosion. Seems like the best Pokemon in this matchup. So, like, there is a little bit of a concern that Skarmory could kind of hold this team back the rest of the way. But I think Typhlosion at some point is just going to be able to come in and win this game. This is a lot of damage to be taken. Risk a crit there at the very end, but luckily we do have the rest to gain all that HP back. A lot of rest here, but I think it makes sense where you have the Aromatherapy Vileplume just kind of cure all that sleep very, very quickly. And there we see HP flying, just nukes the Heracross, one more threat down. And now Skarmory's going to try to do its best to Drill Peck here. But that's really not going to make much progress here, as we just select this time to get our spikes up. Kind of assuming the Snorlax is going to play around Roar to a certain degree, and now we finally see the Roar. But Claydol comes in, and we're just going to get these spun away. So we basically sack a little bit of HP on the Skarmory for not much gain, but we are able to now Toxic the Claydol, given the fact that the Aromatherapy Mon is down. So that does, in fact, give us a little bit. HP Fire comes out here, I assume, from the Claydol. The problem is, though, is that, like, man, I think we just lose to Typhlosion at this point. Like, the only thing that has to fall, in theory, is the Raikou. And if you just get roared into Typhlosion here, it's kind of wraps, right? Like, because you just can't switch into that Pokemon here. You pick up a threat, and then it's just kind of over. All right, we see Steel Wing spamming, so I assume we're probably just sacking Scizor to try to get to that end game. Or I guess we have Morning Sun, so we can just kind of stall this thing out anyway. A Spike comes out. We're just going to rest. I think I have to assume that this battle is just going to take a bunch of extra turns. That is kind of the same sequence. Lax comes in. All three spikes are up again. And this thing is asleep for 2 turns, which is important to note. But like Regice is taking a lot here, right? 50%. Like this Pokemon does not appreciate that. And now Skarmory is able to come back in and take this pretty well, given the fact that it's not at +1. And then at this point, are we sacking Lax here? Or we have to go for the rest here, I think, if we're staying in. Yeah, I mean, we're risking a few crits here for Gold Mason. I think that we probably don't need to be. But I don't think at the end of the day they're really going to matter too much. Because as I said, Typhlosion is kind of an inevitability at this point. I mean, it could be Zam still, but I feel like Zam is like a similar inevitability. Though not as much versus Regice. Regice, in theory, could hold like this team back the rest of the way. And it is Zam. Okay, so not Typhlosion. Typhlosion would have straight up probably won this game a long time ago. So that makes sense. And we do see the Fire Punch. But you see here, like, Regice can hold back this Zam pretty effectively, but it can't really hold back Calm Mind Zam that much. And I think Calm Mind Zam is actually just going to win the game here. A critical hit also makes that much easier, because now you're just going to be able to kill with the Fire Punch. The Skarmory will go down, and now the Raikou will surely just die to a Psychic here pretty swiftly, yeah, and it's just faster as well. So that is going to be a pretty clean win for Gold Mason. So I think Gold Mason was just kind of just waiting to get roared into the Zam. No reason to risk it, especially when like there are going to be turns with a rest up that you can take advantage of. This is the other game I know about. I didn't watch it, but I know the results. So Diet Tight versus Matthias. So let's see. Jason has the other Raikou team. So Raikou versus Lax again. I remember, yeah, I heard a little bit about this game, and now I know what's going on. This is, I would say this team has, like, from Matthias' side, like, if we think about, like, answers to Raikou, this is a pretty good team into Raikou for the most part. And I would say Jason's team struggles a little bit with Lax, but I think every team does, right? Like, I don't think that Jason's team is particularly special in that case, being a little bit weaker to it. You have a lot of good ways to check it offensively with the Heracross and such, but this team also has a Medicham, which is pretty good here, all things considered, looking at this matchup. So let's get into it. Lax, this was a fun first turn. Jason just raw focus punches, which, like, kind of makes sense, right? Because, like, this could, like, if you're, like, Adamant Choice fan, I'm pretty sure you kill almost all variants of Lax here outright with Brick Break. So, like, focus punching the Skarmory, especially where Skarmory feels like such a free switch. This Jason just completely losing his Heracross is a pretty important Pokemon in this battle. Just, like, completely off rip to Hidden Power Flying Lax. So that's pretty unfortunate for Jason, just to lose that Pokemon completely. And now Jason's in a really tough position. How broken is Snorlax? Yeah, shout out Snorlax. The most broken Pokemon of all time in ADV Draft League. So Armaldo gets a little bit of chip here, roars out into Gyarados. Gyarados goes for the Thunder Wave, a classic ADV Gambit Thunder Wave on random Pokemon. And now Blastoise is going to be in a little bit of trouble. And now Armaldo is going to look like basically the Pokemon that Jason wants to use to kind of check the Lax immediately. Especially with SD, it'll be a little bit easier to get some damage. And now we get a nice little flinch. Oh, no, Jason, we missed. That's so sad. Toxic here is good, though, because this Pokemon is going to want to come in a lot and is going to probably want to take some hits from the Lax here. So getting this Armaldo Toxic is pretty key. But we are going to lose our Skarmory here, which I guess in theory would have been nice, but I guess the Heracross is down, so it's not as important. And now we're just going to go just straight up attack the Sableye, which I feel like I don't know why necessarily go Sableye here just to try to S-toss this. We just, like, lose this Pokemon. I guess, like, if you feel like you needed it for Heracross or something, maybe that makes sense, but Spin Block, I guess, makes sense, yeah. But I guess, like, you could, in theory, just go and, like, attack with the Blastoise. But I guess, yeah, it could be Spin Block, though. I think with SD, the chance of that may be a little less likely. But it makes sense. And now we just see Hidden Power Flying get spammed here a little bit. Have to switch out, assuming Hidden Power here is being teched for the Blast or for the Gyarados, and it is. So Raikou now in a really good spot here to start putting some damage and some pressure on this team. Lax is going to be able to hold back at least this set for now, but Jason reveals if you're sacking Scarf, you have to adjust that by blocking spin. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, you do just lose the Pokemon, but if you block spin and kill it, then yeah, you're happy with that sequence. And now Curslax gets revealed here on sub T-Wave Raikou, as Jason just doesn't care. He's just gonna set up in front of it as well and just try to power through it. Maybe not the most advisable thing to do. It's like if you get a para there, like you do win that sequence. So I understand going for it here. You get this para here, which is nice. So now you open up another para to win the sequence. And then you do get the para. So this is like the classic like old gens format moment, right? Where you just like the paralyzed is so powerful here. And these situations where like now like you just have this guy behind a sub Raikou basically 1v1 Lax, which is, you know, definitely not how the situation is supposed to play out. So now Jason's in like a really, really good spot and in this battle. Now we are probably just going to lose our Nidoking here, which does mean like this Jolteon is actually kind of a problem now. Like we actually like don't have a way to hit it because we're mono electric move on our Raikou and we just got our Melodic paralyzed here. So goodbye Melodic. We tried, but that is not going to work out. Shout out to OBS opening on the other monitor again. And now we're in a position, it's like, damn, Jason dropped the early GG in chat. And he's just going to go for the setup here. Might as well, right? Gets roared out here into Gyarados. Now he has to sack this Pokemon at this point because he can't just keep getting roared out in this sequence. Like, there's just nothing he's going to be able to benefit from doing that. As he just starts going for the Calm Mind. As Raikou's going to have to find a way to basically PP stall this team at a certain point. We sack Blastoise here, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I was very surprised by that because we have Taunt. And we know that like this has to click Thunderbolt here. So I was a little surprised we just don't go hard Jolteon there and just start like PP stalling. But I guess like it's in theory hard to PP stall from here. But yeah, this game is going to go on for a little bit. Though I'm trying to think if there's a point of inevitability where we can pause the replay at. Too easy? Yeah, shout out Jason, it's too easy. Mono, Thunderbolt, Raikou, 1v1ing the Jolteon. We're just not Toxic Jolteon versus Raikou? I guess not, yeah. And then we disband Thunderwave. I mean, I surely we know where this is going, right? And now he's just like doubling between. Yeah, okay, we know where this is going. Yeah, this is over. This thing just gets PP still, right? Because Jolteon, they can't break each other. But like with pressure, you're just going to win this sequence basically every time. Given like the PP war. So there you go, Jason. Shout out to Pressure Stall. With the Raikou. Not exactly the conventional way to win, but hey. Winners win. Alright, so this is Togo. I clicked Toxic the turn. He full parried me. Fair. So it would have been Jover. Yeah, that too. Yeah, and Toxic, yeah. I mean, Toxic would have just ended the game right there, so. But overall, hey, we still, you know what? We still got the win. Alright, Togo versus George. Starmie Gengar, Machamp feels like a classic. There's a lot of waffle here at the bottom of the team. Umbreon, Entei, Breloom are like three Pokemon I'm not particularly fans of. Oh, I know. I feel like I've heard what happens in this game. This one should be a special one. Celebi, D-Knight, Doug Trio. I like this. A BP into Doug Trio. The Baton Passer. I guess it maybe brings in Seal and Part. I guess the Baton Passer in Celebi does actually invite some things in that you want a Doug Trio trap. Let's get right into it. D-Knight lead versus Starmie lead, a classic lead. There's a lot of really good leads here from George's side. So I like the D-Knight lead into the Machamp particularly because that's the hardest one to switch into relative to the others. Though this Ice Beam is going to be problematic to deal with. Luckily, we have the Leech Seed to manage that. and we get right back up to full HP. So now we get to see what our answer is into the Machamp, and it's just going to be D-Knight and a big double into Starmie. So kind of reset the turn sequence, but we haven't really made progress here because all the HP just got healed off. As we just go for another Ice Beam. In theory, fishing for a freeze. And now we just go for the T-Wave just to try to maybe add some inconsistency on this Pokemon for this turn, or catch a prediction most likely on a double. Is that we get Umbreon inverse the Espeon. We just straight up start Calm Minding in its face. One of the kind of many baton passers that you see in this format as a Mantine comes out, eats the Toxic, but it is Lumberry. Okay. So you got +1/+1 Mantine. Set up the substitute. Uh-oh. Chat, are we about to... set up the Rain Dance? BP out into Starmie? Are we about to get crazy with it here? Hidden Power. 67. Just straight up recover. Okay, so we're going to try to stall the rain here. If we get crit, this is... Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, if we get crit, this is a little bit... This is about to get really Mickey. Yeah, 67% from the Hydro Pump. We are going to break the sub here. But we still have the rain up. But we can just sub again. Baton Pass is broken. Yeah, I think that's the answer here. Baton Pass is broken. Not the fact that we fucking crit the guy. Not that we crit the guy that could answer this. No, the Hydro Pump. Oh, but the Hydro Pump missed. There we go. But our only answer is Seismic Toss. Dude, I did not think that would kill, though. That killing a +1 is crazy. Yeah, there we go. Shout out to Mantine. Just going absolutely crazy with it here. 70%. So we are going to lose our Mantine here. But Mantine... Basically, the fact that Mantine was able to kind of get through that sequence against this Starmie unscathed pretty much locked up this battle, though. I'm trying to think if there's anything that George could have done. I guess he maybe could have predicted the substitute. I don't know. That's a hard one to kind of think through. It looks like George tries to go for some Calm Minds on the south. But yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. Nothing you can do against Mantine? True. Yeah, I mean, it's just a broken Pokemon, right? A Ban Baton Pass? Yeah, here we go. We see Baton Pass. We see we see Starmie get crit, and the Ban Baton Passers are out in full force. The agenda is winning today. I can't lie. That was a pretty W performance for Baton Pass. You can't deny that. All right, so this is Jake versus Miko. Jake's been on a Metagross kick, I feel, recently. Metagross D-Knight is super fire. Claydol's a nice spinner to have on this team. Crobat's a good speed option. It's like one of the faster ones, actually. It's going to struggle a little bit in this matchup because T-Tires are a pretty good check to it. But yeah, I think Jake's done really, really well with Metagross. It's a Pokemon that like feels super threatening. It's one of those like classic like feels super scary in the builder type of Pokemon, but doesn't always like put the results up. Or a Scizor. Yeah, Scizor, I feel like people might... I wonder if people will start to use that Pokemon more. I feel like with the Baton Pass rules we did make, you can't... Like, Silverwind... Excuse me. Without the ability to have Silverwind and Baton Pass on the same set, I kind of got hated out with some of the new rule changes. I guess they're not new at this point, but... You know what I mean. But this is a little bit of a tough T-Tar matchup with kind of the Claydol... Vaporeon a little bit, but no, I guess not as much Vaporeon, but Zam also, there is a Pursuit Trapper here for the Zam, which is kind of nice. So overall, I think this matchup should be suited for Jake, as we see Metagross lead versus the Pert. Jake didn't really lead well into Pert outside of Venusaur anyway, but we're able to get Houndoom in on the Glalie. I assume that we are going to be HP Grass on this, but we're going to need a lot more chip than that on the Swampert if we're going to kill with HP Grass. So good to just get out here into Crobat and try to throw off some Toxics here. It is just going to reveal to be Sludge Bomb, though, which Chansey is not going to be able to contend with very well. Like, this is just a potential 3-hit KO. And it goes for the T-Wave, which is pretty good. But this should be a free turn for Metagross. I like that on the Soft-Boiled. The Poison is going to keep this thing at 68%, which makes it a little bit harder to switch into next time. and Purchase takes a double edge here. Wow. So that Pokemon now, a lot of HP taken, and we're just going to sack it off here. So this is big news for our Houndoom. Houndoom opens up just that much more. Obviously, T-Tar is still here in the back, though. You do have Willow for the T-Tar. Dragon Dance, but we have the Claydol. Claydol should be able to just hold this Pokemon back pretty effectively. Has anything cool happened so far? Yeah, Mantine just won with Baton Pass, though, so the Baton Pass haters are winning. So we're just like going straight for kind of the throat here on the Claydol. Claydol is going to die here to +2/+2 Tyranitar. So Miko is looking actually in a pretty good spot right now. We just go for the Rock Slide. Have to not get flinched here. We don't. W for Jake as Vaporeon locks in and kills that Tyranitar. And now we're a little bit low on threats if we're on Miko's side. I assume Zam here is probably might not even be last on reveal. That might be something like, I was going to say Scizor, but like the unrevealeds are all not really great into Houndoom. Like all three of them here, like the Scizor, the Typhlosion, and the Alakazam, all pretty bad into Houndoom. Maybe the Houndoom stocks are kind of up right now. As we see him move out into Chansey. This will be a good opportunity for Chansey to get 8 HP back. Although I expect the Crobat is content to just stay in here and start attacking this Chansey again. Obviously, Gligar can come back in. But the Crobat's not really effectively doing much anyway, especially where it's paralyzed now. Keeping the Chansey low will be pretty nice in terms of like the final value it can provide. Especially if you get a toxic, like a poison there. Like this thing is going to struggle to keep its HP. And now Jake's going to use that as an opportunity to get Metagross in, but we do get paralyzed, which is not great. Take an S-Loss here. We really got to hit through, and we're just going to boom. Dude, goated T-Wave. So we're going to trade for Chansey here. Gligar comes back out. We're definitely HP Grass for the Swampert, so no HP Ice shenanigans here. As we just go for the Flamethrower. Play around the Swords Dance here very nicely by Jake. Because, this, could easily use this as an opportunity to Swords Dance and go for a victory here. Jake also then playing around the Endure. How does Jake do it, bro? How does he do it? I'm pouring honey on it all day here today. As Dragonite reveals to be final mod for Jake. We dodged a Rock Slide. Epic Aura dodge as we just straight up Dragon Dance in the face. Which means we also play around Endure. As a result of that, as Zam reveals to be the last. So this Pokemon will just be Houndoom food anyway, but it'll just get picked up by the HP flying. Jake might be the GOAT. Jake obviously putting, as per Jake, puts in the chat explanation how he would have won anyway, or how it was still in his favor. But yeah, I mean, the dodge is definitely very, very beneficial. I mean, it simplifies the end game for sure. So W Jake, this is I feel like, this is Metagross teams have been something he's been using frequently the last little bit, or at least he was using a Neo to good effect. And Houndoom, I mean, this was an all-time Houndoom matchup, I think, in terms of like the fact that like you have Zam, Scizor, Glalie, you can Gligar gets pressured. Like Swampert had a lot to do, so HP Grass will beat it at some point. So I've always kind of had the idea that what's it called, that Pokemon should be a lot better than in draft than it is, because it does have a lot of niche OU applications that seem like come over. But yeah, on to Jeroni versus Zugubu Royale. Shout out, by the way, to Zugu getting unbanned on Smogon on redacted.com. Because now we don't have to guess what bullshit all Zugu is using anymore. Rest in peace, Real Apple. What was it? Real Apple 130 or something stupid. Shout out to all the Zugu. Zugubu Royale is back, though. Jeroni is using uncancelled, free. Zugubu Royale can now type in chat on Showdown. A blessed day. Zugu's got the other Salamence team. When talking to Owen about him drafting his team, when I draft Salamence in these like closed draft environments, like outside of tours, I think you're like almost like, I feel like you're super incentivized to take Melodic round 2, only in that like if you can just like simplify your matchup spread, like it's the one like top 8 Pokemon that has just like Pokemon that are slam dunk auto beat you, and mainly that being Melodic, and Melodic's really good round 2 anyway, so I almost feel like it's a requirement here. So I'm a little surprised not seeing it here, but Blissey is obviously broken as well. And then Puff's team here, Zapdos, Gengar. So Zapdos Doug Trio, very common core. There's a few things to trap here with Doug Trio, not a lot. But overall, a pretty solid team. I'm mainly going to be relying on, I think, the Zapdos offensively here. But Gengar lead versus the Blissey. Get a taunt out here as we take a big 59% from the Psychic here. So I like the Psychic there because it could just be random focus Mickey Punch there that you got to play around. And now we see Toxic come out from the Dusclops, or the Kangaskhan on the Dusclops, as we do get our King burned, though there's going to be a high percentage chance. There's again another Toxic here, so good double Toxic turn there from Jeroni. I think there's like a decent chance that this is a Rest, because Rest Early Bird is obviously very good here in like a lot of matchups for that Pokemon. So I think to take the burn on that, you're very content to get a Toxic on both the Dusclops and the Cloyster here. Especially where like this Pokemon Kangaskhan can come in very freely on the Dusclops. And we do see Resto Chesto here actually get revealed. So the Toxic not as relevant for this. And there we go. As we kind of predicted, early bird rest here from the Kangaskhan just to keep that Pokemon's HP high. And now we're going to use our early bird to wake up. Go for the Toxic, but it does reveal to be Lumberry. So that means that we're going to get a little bit of chip. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I assume the item had like some other applications here. And now on the rest, we're going to get our Blaziken in for free. And this is a very good time here for Zugu Royale. Fire Blast does a lot into Feraligatr. Dude, shout out to the Feraligatr back sprite, looking crazy with it. Yeah, Kangaskhan's doing a lot of work here, but on those rest turns being so predictable, like Zugu's just going to be able to get in his Blaziken for free. Yeah, it is actually really difficult for now that the more that I look at that for Zugu to beat this Kangaskhan, especially where it's Rest, Early Bird. Especially like I assume Salamence will be the breakthrough at some point, but you don't want to use your Salamence at this point. Well, we get a Body Slam off your Outspeed and the Para, a Zugu classic. Zugu getting people to talk about banning Body Slam in ADV draft. We did get a Fire Blast here. That's a lot of damage on Zapdos. Definitely do not want to take that damage, but we're just Rest anyway. So I think that Puff's game plan here is just to utilize Rest to the best that he can just to kind of stall these Pokemon out. But he's going to get the Sleep Talk, break the Substitute here, but lose the Zapdos. Losing the Zapdos feels big here. We are going to be able to trap the Blaziken with the Doug Trio. So we trade Blaziken for Zapdos, which I think is actually pretty good here, all things considered, right? Because the Kangaskhan is so powerful here. So if you remove one of its only natural checks, then you're probably in a good spot. We have sub DD Salamence here, but we're going to have the Ice Punch to break through the Substitute here instead of the Seismic Toss. And now we're in a position where I think that Kangaskhan won't win this game outright yet, but it's not going to be, in theory, too far off, I don't think. I think it's like very difficult for him to actually break through this. Now we go Gengar here, protecting against a Boom here, very important to do that. Where you can take a little T-Bolt here, 36%, not bad. But Kangaskhan is just going to get to come in here for free basically every time, like any of these Pokemon come in. And you just have to protect it from getting crit or like boomed on by the Cloyster at this point. Rock Slide Para is kind of annoying here though. Like I guess we are a little bit committed to getting this rest off. Ooh, uh-oh, that's not good. Wow. A bunch of Paras from Zugu, and now the Kangaskhan, which looked like it was probably going to potentially win the game, and now just like basically out of it. And now Jeroni's like really going to struggle to break this Blissey particularly. Oh, and I want to Jeroni in the chat. I want to I want to keep myself safe. After booming into the Dusclops. I mean, I get it, right? Like, I guess, like, with the Kangaskhan so low. Oh, my God. You don't even get the rest there? You don't even get that rest? That's crazy. You don't even get that one. Yeah, I mean, I get the idea of booming, right? Because you haven't boomed on any of the turns yet. So, I think, like, you got to go for a high-risk play there to try to catch the Blissey to get yourself back into this. But overall... yeah, this just, unfortunately, was just not in the cards for Jeroni. A double Willow Miss, okay. We get the Dusclops here. No, we don't. Oh, we got the para. Okay, a little bit back, but obviously that's not going to matter, right? Because Dimensions comes in here, gets a little bit of a DD up here. Or it can just spam Earthquake, honestly. Go to the Feraligatr. Yeah. Oh, 23. Okay. I didn't know Feraligatr had the defense like that to chew. The problem is that Blissey takes literally 3 damage from every Pokemon left in this build. We go Registeel here, though I think that Thunder Wave's not going to matter too much. I guess you can, in theory, boom, but Blissey 2 broken. Yeah, Blissey's pretty fire in general in ADV, and it's pretty good in Jironi's team. Obviously, Kangaskhan is going to be pretty good into it, but, oh, that's a pretty sad Slackberry. And, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for the Blissey to do well in this battle, or to be dealt with in this battle. It just wasn't on the cards. All right, so now at this point, I mean, Puff's not like completely out of this, right? I guess that like the problem is like eventually you're going to be at odds to the para on the Registeel to be able to break this Mence. But like in theory, you can like get this thing in range of Rock Slide, right? And like you're kind of like we're kind of in a good like our spot is improving here. The para is not great, but like you are now, this is though in Rock Slide range. This might even be in Rock Slide range at -1. I guess they'll go up to like 40, so probably not. I guess you just go for Alligator. I guess you go for Alligator and double into the Dugtrio here to trap the Blissey. I guess like trapping Blissey doesn't do anything anyway, but I guess you just try to freeze it, but there's really nothing you can do here. Earthquake and then just gets Ice Beam back. So, unfortunate loss there. I think that, like, I mean, that definitely got pretty close in the end. And, like, if we had Kangaskhan at full HP, that battle, I mean, definitely would have been much different in terms of outcome. Mana versus our GOAT Tiro Price. So this one, let's take a look. This is like a classic Mana team, Moltres. I guess I see Moltres and I just think of Mana. Yeah, Mana's in this as well. This is a really, really good team. Jumpluff is pretty good. We have Quagsire to kind of play the Jumpluff Encore game here a little bit. Moltres is obviously pretty good. Not as great here. I guess Flamethrower is actually pretty spammable, and you can have HP Grass for Swampert. Makes Flygon be able to come in, but Flygon is kind of ass, so the more that guy's on the field, the better. But this is just another good, pretty decent Registeel Moltres type of team. And then Metagross here. A Pokemon that I want to see hopefully do a little bit more in ADV over the course of these years. Over the course of the next couple. I guess we have one more tour this year, and then we're doing the Hoenn Draft Invitational. So overall, like, this team does a good job covering hidden powers and stuff. So, and overall, I think that, like, this probably is a good... I feel like this... I've struggled to see what mana is necessary to win Kanye is here. But and Metagross seems super strong here from T-Rose side. Shout out to Hyper Beam, just frame 1 missing off rip into the Metagross. Just straight going for it off lead against the Flygon. And now Fortune's going to get a bunch of entry hazards up here. So Fire Blast comes out. Not going to do a lot to the Weezing. But we are going to get a Spike up, which we aren't actually able to get rid of these. I guess Hitmonlee can, in theory, get rid of these. We have Return Weezing. Damn, sometimes you just need chip on your Pokemon, I guess. You need something to deal some damage. Go for the Return, I guess. That is crazy. And we see Weezing get here, put to sleep by the Venusaur. And that allows us to get a Leech Seed up. Hopefully, seeing if we can chip this Weezing down a little bit, because this does seem to be one of our ways to potentially come into Metagross in the later game, though probably not. Now, Hitmonlee is going to... All right, we find a good opportunity to get Hitmonlee in, as this is, in theory, our spinner here. But we do get the Rapid Spin off. So Hitmonlee clicks Rapid Spin in an ADV Draft League game. Very unheard of, rare NFT to see that one happen. And we are just going to sack this Pokemon. Get a crit here. Crit's really nice for T-Row, actually. Because now this Pokemon is dead to a Spike. Well, not dead to a Spike. It's super weak. Going to be almost impossible for that thing to come back in. Just try to go for the kill. Probably worth it, right? Like you expect, he might just try to sack it off. And now we go into Swampert. And Swampert does have a pretty decent matchup here. But like the Wheezing is in theory going to be able to hold it back here pretty effectively. And we do have the Psychic here for the Wheezing, which was potentially expected here in this battle. Now Quagsire eating the crit. Hope that's the last hit on Lee Siding. Hopefully. Don't need to see much more of that bum. Toxic comes out here. Obviously, you want to Toxic the Quagsire if at all possible. And now let's see what you get here. Hidden Power, Grass, probably. Yeah, that's not going to do a lot. And now Metagross is going to be able to come in and start putting some offensive pressure. It is leftover, so in theory, yeah, I can just Earthquake here, though this is in theory risky against like counter. T-Wave obviously risky against as well. Oh, but we are going to get potentially Iron Defense on here. This is not good. Yeah, T-Ro's team is not super great now into Iron Defense, Rest, Registeel. I guess we don't have a lot of good outs to this set. We can obviously Leech Seed it and go Swampert and then try to crit it because it's probably just, yeah, it's just S-Toss only moves. So like you can in theory stall this out. Yeah, so it looks like Mana's just going to get out of there because with S-Toss only move, like you kind of have to chip a lot of these Pokemon a little bit more before. Big 38 from the Flamethrower on the Metagross as Metagross gets in for free. Psychic will be nice here to get on the Quagsire, but we do get paralyzed, which is pretty unfortunate. And now we get a Yawn here, which means that Mana gets kind of a free turn. Though it's going to end up being a Defortress, which means you get a little bit of HP. And Jolteon comes in for free. But Jolteon's going to set up that substitute. I think the problem here with this battle is this Registeel does have a lot of inevitability to just win this game at a certain point. Like at some point, this Pokemon's going to become kind of unbreakable. Though we do have to like preserve the HP or the PP on our Seismic Toss, right? Like we only have 28 left, which is a lot, but like with these things having like random protects and substitutes and like leftovers and stuff, like it can actually take a while. It can't take a lot of those to like raw win the game. So we're gonna have to like knock down a few Pokemon before that set wins. Yeah, before that set wins at some point. Venusaur comes back out, eats the Earthquake. Crit, obviously not going to do a lot. And it's also not going to matter because we're going to be able to get a Leech Seed off here on the Weezing. Get our HP back up on Venusaur, which obviously we would have been at full instead of 79%. But, I mean, we're going to basically end up there anyway at this juncture. Miss the Leech Seed, not too great. But as I said, like these Seismic Tosses just honestly don't matter at a certain point of the game because we just like Leech Seed up and kind of move on from there. CT Wave here on the Venusaur, obviously that's a little bit unoptimal. Now we're like, a lot of our build is just starting to slowly get paralyzed here, which is going to add some inconsistency to our game plan. And now Quagsire takes the hit. It is into a KO range here, but we do reveal to have the rest here on Mana's side, and we get paralyzed anyway. Though I think that little bit of chip doesn't particularly matter once this thing gets back up to full HP. Shout out to Paralyze, the paralysis mechanic, putting in the most work. As now we finally see last revealed from Mana's side, which is the Moltres, and Moltres is going to be able to deal a lot of damage. Ooh, Will-O-Wisp missing there on the Flygon is pretty nasty. It could be special here. We've only seen Fire Blast, though the Rock Slide comes out, does reveal. At least it's revealed to be mixed, though we don't know necessarily whether it's physically biased, though. Earthquake coming out, I would say, almost guarantees the physical bias of the Pokemon. So Moltres comes in on the Leech Seed. We do get to hit the Will-O-Wisp this time, which is nice. So now T-Ro's like entire team outside of the Swampert is status, which like makes this game a little, I wouldn't say easy, but definitely gives Mana the edge at this point. As we see Return come out here onto the Metagross, not going to do a lot here, especially where this seems to be a little bit more bulky Metagross, and we do have the leftovers. So good double there by T-Ro to get the Venusaur in, but like our only real way to push progress with this Pokemon is with the Leech Seed. And we see a nice double in here. Moltres has so many great doubles that I can get here in this battle. With the burn now on this Flygon, the Flamethrowers are just doing so much damage. It's just going to be really tough for, I think it's just really tough for T-Ro to win this game. At this point, I feel like it's almost going to be difficult for him to pick off a Pokemon at this point. The defensive structure is just super strong on Mana's side. Hydro Pump does miss. I think Swampert can get through this. Yeah, you just can't break through this core of 6 now. I'm clicking X, yeah. This is a GG go to week 2. Let's play some more ass moment at this point, unfortunately, for T-Row. Earthquake comes here. Big 30% from Quagsire. Look at all that damage. Yeah, just straight up trading 33% each other. Okay, we got the crit too, and this is like the last unstatus Pokemon from T-Row, and it looks like it's just going to go down. So yeah, at this point, like, we are super... I guess this thing is not statused either. Okay, there's a bunch of noise going outside. I'm like, what's going on? Well, shout out to living in the city. I think this is cruise ships. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But we are going to get Baton Pass into Metagross here, which is pretty good. I mean, this does mean we can get one, probably, right? Like, we're probably going to get this Quagsire here. I guess not, because I can just rest off because you're paralyzed. Yeah, like, you can Earthquake again. Yeah, this thing is just going to be able to hold you back infinitely. Crit maybe to get one? We got to get one, T-Row. Come on, let's get one. Okay. All right, we do get a... Hey, we get a Meteor Mash boost, I guess. Oh, are we going to kill something? No, my God. No way. Oh, my God. He can't even get the 1 kill. He gets crit with the fucking Quagsire. That's so toxic. That's so toxic to get the fucking crit on the Metagross. And this game is over. Yeah, like, this is... When I'm talking about this situation where, like, S-Toss PP is kind of nice, like, at this point, it almost doesn't matter, right? Like, you just have run out of so much Pokemon. Get the Giga Drain off into Moltres for free, and now this is a kill here at this point with the Flamethrower. Flygon can come in, but... Oh, I guess we have Overheat, too. Yeah, just for a little bit of extra pain here. Goodbye, Flygon. Jolteon is able to come in, but Jolteon just gets walled by the Quagsire and the Registeel. I guess we do get a sub up here. And we just click the Thunderbolt here. I mean, respect, right? You gotta click Thunderbolt here. Just for a little bit of an Aura Farm. This is going to be a plus 100 turn 6-0. And he empowers into the Registeel. Man, these are those frustrating games in ADV, right? Where it's just like you play in so many turns and like it feels like you've lost like 80 turns ago. But that's what these teams just do so well. It's just like just constrict all of your resources, and as soon as a piece falls, it's over. And there goes the Venusaur and Jolteon here. Surely we... No! Why didn't we preserve? No, what are we doing, Mana? Mana's not a true draft player. Not preserving that 6-0. We're going to give up free Pokemon, though. I think this league doesn't count for differential doesn't matter in this league anyway, so doesn't matter too much. T-Row gets one on the way out. And that is the end of that one. Yeah, that one felt kind of cooked, unfortunately, for the whole for basically the whole battle, unfortunately. And then the last one is Max versus Pythons. Shout out to Max and Pythons. Pythons my goat. Pythons, interesting team. I feel like this is the second time in a row Pythons had Celebi in this league. Regice, Celebi, pretty decent. I really like Max's team a lot, actually. I really like the Starmie Machamp idea. I feel like Machamp is just super broken, especially as a lead. That Pokemon is crazy good. All right, we take a Hidden Power Flying here, and we're able to just Rock Slide, trade off for that Charizard. The Calc basically almost not being able to tell us whether it's CB or not. Being the benefit there. And we see big Snorlax coming out here. Eats that Psychic. Goes for the Shadow Ball. It takes a good amount of chip with the Omastar. And now you're going to have to switch out, obviously, with the Truant ability. But wow, that's a great switch for Max's side to get that Machamp in. Machamp's going to be able to deal a bunch of damage here. Not really. I guess we go for the Hidden Power. Get the Tentacruel instead. But still, that chip is going to add up over time, especially where it reveals to not be leftovers, which is good to note. And now it looks like Max is just going for it. Let's just get in our Machamp as much as possible. And this might just be rest. Rest Machamp final move. We get to +1, so we just decide to attack. Oh no, and we miss. Oh no, that's tough. All right, we go. Oh, is that an ethical? Shout out. I don't know if that's an ethical rock slide or just a prediction, but the double miss there on that turn is very funny. Just keep going for the rock slide. Okay, and we sack out the Machamp. So Hariyama at pretty low HP. I assume just like protecting against maybe Tentacruel switch. Not 100% sure. I guess that makes sense. But maybe you just take the kill on the Hariyama if you have access to do it. Oh, now we have Curse Miltank. This Pokemon is also going to be a threat. All right, we just got 2 Pokemon setting up in each other's face. Psychic going to do a lot of damage here, and Body Slam going to do a lot less. So Celebi definitely winning this sequence in the long run. Really need to get a para here if we want this to work. We're not going to get the para, which is unfortunate. So we're going to lose our Miltank here. Miltank goes down. But Slacking is going to come in. Slacking kind of just picks up a kill here. In theory, Shadow Ball comes out. I mean, it can't kill this Omastar now. It's going to have to switch out. And Starmie's a pretty good switch here. It is going to invite the Regice to come in. But Regice is not going to do too much. I guess that's a lot for Ice Beam, all things considered. But now you're able to get in your Snorlax again and just drop a return. There's no switching to the Slacking. Slacking just putting in the finest of work now. Hidden Power Ghost probably. Yeah, good prediction. There's no way. The Slacking can never stay in. And you get almost all the HP back off that Starmie. And no recover on that turn makes me believe it probably doesn't have recover. Though it does reveal to have recover here on the turn with a Thunderbolt. So a little bit of a fortunate sequence, but you do get another kill here with the Slacking. So, dude, Slacking's going crazy here. Picks up the Omastar and the Celebi. Just like every time it gets a free turn versus Regice, it's a kill. Cross Chop comes out here. Does a lot of damage, but at this point, like, you're just winning the Pokemon Capital War in this battle with the Slacking. Ooh, so Blackberry is pretty good there, actually. And it looks like we're just going to sack off Slacking. So good effort to Slacking there as Meganium comes in here just to play it safe. It's going to take a lot of damage, obviously. But Flail, okay. Shout out to Flail to help break through the what's it called? Help break through the Tentacruel. And now we're going to go for another Endure on the Ice Beam. Don't freeze, no freeze. And now we get Endure, Flail, Shellac, Meganium. How much is this doing? 50? 50 is kind of a lot, actually. That's pretty... I assume Rock Slide kills here. And we are leftovers, right? So yeah, I'll be able to Rock Slide and HP Flying into the Hariyama and pick up the victory. I assume this has to kill, right? There's no world where this doesn't kill, chat, right? There we go. There is no way that didn't kill. That was porn acting there to act like that didn't kill. All right, there we go. A quick little hour-long stream to watch some ADV Draft League battles. I gotta get back into the swing of things. I've been like over the summer not super. I've been a little bit uncommitted to doing YouTube stuff. I think part of it is just the last 2 Wi-Fi leagues have been so poor. But we got a lot going on the next little bit, so a lot to get excited for content-wise. I'm going to try to stream this league every week. As I said, USM week might be difficult only in that, like, OLR videos might be going up then, and I might try to do watch-alongs for that, but I'm still undecided on how I want to approach that. So that's all we have for today's stream. Thank you for coming out. We'll be back again next week, probably not same time, because the only reason I'm doing this stream today is because my Mondays are usually busy with Magic. But we have the day off. It's a holiday here in my province of Canada. So no work for me today and no Magic either this evening. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you probably Wednesday or Thursday next week. Still undecided, but that's all we have for this time. See you for next week for some more us, and have a good week.